Welcome to the world of Dragon Ball Z. This is a story about warriors and legends, about fathers and sons, about rivals who become brothers and enemies who shake the very foundations of the universe. It is a tale of transformation in every sense of the word, where the limits of power are shattered again and again, and where the bonds of friendship and sacrifice define what it truly means to be a hero. Let yourself relax as we delve deep into this epic universe of alien warriors, earth-shaking battles, and the eternal struggle between good and evil. Before you begin drifting off to sleep, do consider subscribing to the channel for more anime sleep stories. There are many more of your favorite anime worlds to peacefully explore together. And now, on with our story. 5 years have passed since the young warrior Goku defeated the Demon King Piccolo's reincarnation at the World Martial Arts Tournament. In that time, the world has known peace. Goku married his childhood friend Chi-Chi, and together they have been raising their son, a 4-year-old boy named Gohan, after Goku's beloved adoptive grandfather. Life on Mount Paozu is quiet and simple. Goku spends his days fishing in the mountain streams and playing with his son beneath the ancient trees. Chi-Chi dreams of Gohan becoming a great scholar, and Goku, ever the devoted if somewhat oblivious husband, supports her wishes, even as he secretly hopes his boy might one day learn to fight. On this particular day, Goku has decided to introduce Gohan to his oldest friends. He places the boy on the flying Nimbus, that magical golden cloud that has carried him since childhood, and together they soar across the sky toward the small island where Master Roshi makes his home. The Kame House sits alone on its tiny stretch of sand, the same unassuming pink building where Goku first learned the ways of martial arts so many years ago. Inside, his friends have gathered. There is Bulma, the brilliant scientist who first discovered Goku in the wilderness when he was just a strange boy with a tail. There is Krillin, Goku's best friend and fellow student of the Turtle School, his bald head gleaming in the afternoon light. And there is Master Roshi himself, the legendary martial artist who taught them both, now content to spend his days reading magazines and watching exercise programs on television. The reunion is warm and filled with laughter. Everyone marvels at how much Gohan has grown, and they notice with some surprise that the boy has a tail, just as his father once did. Goku explains that it simply grew in, much as his own had when he was young. The conversation is light, the mood relaxed. No one suspects that within minutes, everything they know about Goku, about their world, and about the universe itself will be forever changed. A tremendous power descends from the sky. The fighters sense it before they see it, a presence so overwhelming that it makes the air itself feel heavy. A figure lands on the beach, tall and imposing, with long black hair that falls past his waist and armor unlike anything they have ever seen. Most disturbing of all is the furry brown appendage wrapped around his waist. A tail, identical to the one Goku possessed as a child. The stranger looks at Goku with a mixture of recognition and contempt. He calls him by a name none of them have heard before: Kakarot. When Goku expresses confusion, the stranger grows angry. He demands to know why Goku has not completed his mission, why the planet's population still thrives. He speaks of things that make no sense, of a world called Planet Vegeta, of a warrior race known as the Saiyans, and of a mission assigned to Goku as an infant. The stranger reveals himself to be Raditz, and he claims to be Goku's elder brother. The truth unfolds like a nightmare. Goku is not human. He never was. He is a Saiyan, a member of a powerful alien race that conquers planets for profit. As a baby, he was sent to Earth with a single purpose: to exterminate all life and prepare the world for sale to the highest bidder. The mission was considered simple enough for an infant because Saiyans are born with incredible fighting potential, and the people of Earth were deemed weak. But something went wrong. Goku suffered a head injury as a child, and with it, he lost all memory of his mission and his true nature. Instead of becoming a destroyer, he became a protector. Raditz has no interest in sentimentality. He has come to recruit his brother for a new mission. Only 4 Saiyans remain in the universe after their home planet was destroyed in a catastrophe. The wider galaxy was told was a meteor. Raditz, along with 2 other Saiyans named Vegeta and Nappa, need Goku's help to conquer a particularly troublesome world. When Goku refuses, Raditz resorts to more persuasive methods. He moves with speed that Goku cannot follow and strikes him down with a single blow. Before anyone can react, he snatches young Gohan and takes to the sky. His ultimatum is simple. Goku must kill 100 humans and bring their bodies to the designated location by the following day, or he will never see his son again. Goku lies on the sand, defeated and desperate. His friends gather around him, but there is nothing they can do. Raditz is powerful beyond anything they have ever encountered. Even Goku, the strongest among them, was treated like a child. But then, an unexpected figure arrives. Piccolo, the reincarnation of the Demon King, Goku's greatest rival, and the one being on Earth who might actually want him dead, descends from the sky with a proposition. He too has sensed Raditz's power and recognizes the threat. If this Saiyan is not stopped, he will destroy everything, including Piccolo's own ambitions for world domination. The enemy of my enemy, he reasons, makes a useful ally. Goku, seeing no other option, agrees to the temporary partnership. Across the ocean, in a desolate wasteland, Raditz waits beside his spherical space pod. Young Gohan is trapped inside, crying for his father, his small fists pounding uselessly against the reinforced glass. Raditz ignores the boy's distress. He is more interested in the readings on his scouter, the device worn over his eye that measures power levels. When he detected Gohan earlier, the boy registered at a surprisingly high number, but now he reads as almost nothing. Raditz dismisses it as a malfunction and turns his attention to the horizon. He can sense 2 powers approaching. Goku and Piccolo arrive together, an alliance that would have been unthinkable just hours before. They shed their weighted training clothes, the heavy garments they wear to increase the difficulty of their movements, and their power levels spike accordingly. Raditz is amused but not impressed. Even combined, their strength is far below his own. The battle begins. What follows is less a fight than a demonstration of how outclassed they truly are. Raditz moves between them like a ghost, striking before they can defend, dodging before they can attack. Goku unleashes his signature technique, the Kamehameha, a beam of concentrated energy that has felled countless opponents. Raditz deflects it with his bare hand. Piccolo fires his own attack, but Raditz simply sidesteps and delivers a punishing counter. Within moments, both warriors are battered and bleeding. In the space pod, something is changing. Gohan's fear has transformed into rage. He watches his father being brutalized, and something deep within him awakens. The power that Raditz's scouter detected earlier was not a malfunction. It was a glimpse of the boy's hidden potential. A well of strength buried so deep that even Gohan himself does not know it exists. As his emotions reach their peak, that power erupts. The pod explodes outward, and Gohan rockets toward Raditz with a furious headbutt that cracks the Saiyan's armor and sends him reeling. Raditz recovers quickly, but the damage is done, both to his body and to his confidence. He moves to eliminate the child, but Goku seizes the opportunity. He grabs his brother from behind, wrapping his arms around him in a full Nelson hold and locking their bodies together. Raditz struggles but cannot break free. He demands that Goku release him, but Goku has made his choice. He shouts for Piccolo to use his newest technique, a concentrated beam that Piccolo has been developing in secret for the sole purpose of killing Goku himself. The attack requires time to charge, and Raditz realizes with horror what is about to happen. Piccolo extends 2 fingers to his forehead and begins gathering energy. The beam that forms there spirals with deadly intent, boring through the air as it prepares to launch. Raditz begs his brother to let go, promising to leave Earth and never return. For a moment, Goku wavers. Raditz is his brother, his own flesh and blood. But then he remembers Gohan's tears, the friends who were struck down, the 100 innocent lives Raditz demanded as tribute. Goku holds firm. The special beam cannon fires. It pierces through Raditz's chest and continues straight through Goku's. Both brothers collapse, mortally wounded, their blood mixing in the dirt. Raditz, with his dying breath, laughs. He reveals that his scouter has been transmitting everything to his Saiyan comrades. Vegeta and Nappa now know about Earth, about the Dragon Balls that can grant any wish, and they are coming. They will arrive in 1 year, and they are far stronger than Raditz ever was. With that final warning, Raditz dies. Goku follows moments later, but not before speaking to his friends through Master Roshi's telepathic link with Kami, the Guardian of Earth. He tells them not to wish him back immediately. In the afterlife, there is a martial arts master named King Kai, whose techniques could give Goku the power he needs to face the coming threat. He asks them to wish him back in 1 year, just before the Saiyans arrive. His friends reluctantly agree, and Goku's spirit departs his body. The next 12 months unfold across multiple fronts. In the realm of the dead, Goku must first travel Snake Way, a seemingly endless golden path that winds through the void between worlds. The journey takes him nearly half a year, testing his endurance and his will. He falls once, tumbling into hell itself, but escapes and continues onward. When Goku's spirit arrived at King Kai's planet after his long journey down Snake Way, he found something unexpected. The planet was tiny, no larger than a house, a grassy sphere floating in the void with a single tree, a car that served no purpose, and a small home where the martial arts master lived. King Kai himself was a short blue figure with antennae and sunglasses, accompanied by a monkey named Bubbles and a cricket named Gregory. The deity greeted Goku not with solemnity, but with a joke, a terrible pun that made Goku groan even as he laughed. But the training was no joke. The tiny planet generated gravity 10 times stronger than Earth's, which meant that Goku could barely move when he first arrived. Simply walking required tremendous effort. Running was nearly impossible. King Kai explained that before any techniques could be taught, Goku must first adapt to this environment. His initial task was simple in concept, but brutal in execution: catch Bubbles. The monkey was accustomed to the heavy gravity and moved with ease that Goku could not match. For weeks, Goku chased Bubbles around the tiny planet, his muscles screaming in protest, his lungs burning with effort. He fell countless times, his body slamming into the grass with force that would have shattered bones on Earth. But slowly, incrementally, he adapted. His movements became smoother. His speed increased. When he finally caught Bubbles, King Kai nodded with approval and set the next challenge: strike Gregory with a heavy hammer. The cricket was faster than Bubbles and could fly, darting through the air in patterns that seemed impossible to predict. Goku swung the massive hammer again and again, missing by inches, his frustration mounting. King Kai offered encouragement between jokes, each pun worse than the last, but beneath the humor lay genuine wisdom. The martial arts master saw Goku's potential and pushed him toward it, knowing that the Saiyans approaching Earth would show no mercy. When Goku finally struck Gregory, his training in technique began. King Kai explained the Kaioken not merely as a power boost, but as a controlled overload of the body's energy systems. The technique multiplied Goku's strength, speed, and senses, but it also placed tremendous strain on his muscles and organs. Used for more than brief moments or pushed too high, the body would tear itself apart from within. The key was control, knowing exactly how much amplification he could sustain, and for how long. The Spirit Bomb was different entirely. Where the Kaioken drew power from within, the Spirit Bomb gathered energy from without. Every living thing radiated life force, from the smallest blade of grass to the largest star. A warrior with sufficient skill and purity of heart could reach out to these sources and request their energy, gathering it into a sphere of tremendous destructive potential. The technique required time and concentration, making it impractical in the heat of battle, but against an enemy powerful enough to threaten planets, it might be the only option. King Kai's training transformed Goku in ways that went beyond mere power. The martial arts master taught him to sense energy at great distances, to read the flow of battle before it unfolded, to find calm within chaos. When Goku finally departed for Earth, carried by Kami to arrive just as the Saiyan battle reached its climax, he was no longer merely a strong fighter. He had become something approaching a true martial artist. Back on Earth, the remaining warriors prepared in their own ways. Piccolo took Gohan into the wilderness, seeing the boy's hidden potential as the key to surviving the coming battle. The training was harsh. Piccolo left Gohan alone for 6 months, forcing him to survive in the wild, to hunt and forage and face his fears without help. When Piccolo returned, he began teaching the boy to fight, driving him relentlessly. Something unexpected happened during these long months in the wilderness. Piccolo, who had known nothing but hatred and ambition, began to care for the child. Gohan's innocence and determination chipped away at the demon's hardened heart. A bond formed between them, student and teacher, something almost like father and son. Krillin, Yamcha, Tien, Chiaotzu, and even the cowardly swordsman Yajirobe gathered at Kami's lookout, the palace that floats high above the earth. There, under Kami's guidance and the watchful eye of his assistant, Mr. Popo, they trained in ways they never had before. They entered a room that simulated combat against enemies from across time and space. They pushed their bodies and their techniques to new heights. But even as they grew stronger, they knew the truth. Compared to what was coming, they were still desperately outmatched. The year passes, the day arrives. 2 space pods streak across the sky and crash into a populated city. Vegeta and Nappa emerge from the craters, armored figures with tails wrapped around their waists and cold calculation in their eyes. Vegeta is the smaller of the two, compact and regal, with hair that stands straight up like a black flame. He is the prince of all Saiyans, one of the last survivors of a dead world, and his pride is matched only by his cruelty. Nappa is massive, bald and brutal, a warrior who revels in destruction for its own sake. Their scouters detect power levels across the planet, and they set off toward the strongest readings. The defenders of Earth gather to meet them. Piccolo and Gohan arrive first, followed by Krillin, Yamcha, Tien, and Chiaotzu. They stand together in a rocky wasteland, a ragged band facing extinction. Goku is still on his way, racing back from King Kai's planet, but he will not arrive in time for the opening battle. They must hold the line without him. Nappa finds the humans amusing. He plants 6 seeds in the ground, and from them sprout the Cybermen, small green creatures with power levels equal to Raditz. Each defender pairs off against one of these minions. Tien destroys his opponent with clinical efficiency. Yamcha appears to do the same, blasting his Cyberman into the dirt. But as he turns away in triumph, the creature rises behind him and latches onto his body. Before anyone can react, it self-destructs. Yamcha, one of Goku's oldest friends, dies in the explosion. Rage courses through the remaining fighters. Krillin unleashes a scattering energy attack that destroys the remaining Cybermen in a single stroke. But Yamcha is gone, and the real battle has not even begun. Nappa steps forward, cracking his knuckles. The Cybermen were merely entertainment. Now it is time for the main event. What follows is a massacre. Nappa is not merely stronger than them. He exists on an entirely different level. Tien attacks with everything he has, eventually sacrificing his own life to unleash a devastating energy attack that he hopes will at least wound the giant Saiyan. It does nothing. Nappa emerges from the blast without a scratch, and Tien collapses dead from the strain of the technique. Chiaotzu attempts a desperate gambit, clinging to Nappa's back and self-destructing in a final act of sacrifice. Nappa survives that too, merely annoyed by the attempt. Piccolo and Krillin continue fighting, buying time, hoping that Goku will arrive before they all perish. Vegeta grows impatient. He orders Nappa to finish the battle, but then reconsiders. He has been monitoring a power level racing toward their location, a power far greater than any of the others. Kakarot is coming, and Vegeta wants to meet this low-class warrior who defeated Raditz. He commands Nappa to wait 3 hours, a cruel game to see if Goku can arrive in time to save his remaining friends. The 3 hours pass slowly. Goku pushes his flying Nimbus to its limits, racing across the planet toward the battle. He can sense his friend's energy fading, can feel the overwhelming darkness that radiates from the Saiyans. He has to make it. He has to. The 3 hours end. Nappa, bored of waiting, resumes his assault. He targets Gohan, seeing the boy as the weakest link. Piccolo, without hesitation, throws himself in front of the attack. The blast tears through his body, and he falls into Gohan's arms. With his final breath, Piccolo tells the boy that he has come to think of him as a friend, perhaps the only friend he has ever had. Then the demon, who was born to destroy the world, dies protecting a child he learned to love. Gohan's rage explodes. He attacks Nappa with a fury that surprises even the Saiyans, his hidden power surging to the surface once more. But it is not enough. Nappa recovers and prepares to kill the boy, raising his hand to deliver the final blow, and then Goku arrives. The change in atmosphere is immediate. Goku lands between Nappa and his son, his expression calm but his eyes hard. He takes in the bodies of his fallen friends, the destruction around him, the smirking faces of the Saiyans who caused it all. He kneels beside Gohan and produces a small beam, a senzu from Korin's tower that heals all wounds and restores all energy. He gives another to Krillin. Then he stands and faces Nappa. Vegeta checks his scouter and is surprised by what he sees. Kakarot's power level has increased dramatically since his fight with Raditz. He is curious to see what his fellow Saiyan can do. Nappa is less impressed. He charges at Goku with the same overwhelming force that crushed the others. Goku does not even move. At the last moment, he sidesteps and delivers a single elbow to Nappa's back. The giant Saiyan crashes to the ground, stunned. The fight that follows is entirely one-sided, but this time it is Nappa who is helpless. Goku moves with speed that the larger Saiyan cannot track. Every punch, every kick lands with devastating precision. When Nappa attempts his most powerful attack, a beam from his mouth that has destroyed cities, Goku counters with a Kamehameha that overpowers it completely. In desperation, Nappa turns his rage toward the watching Gohan and Krillin, hoping to kill Goku's loved ones, since he cannot defeat Goku himself. Goku responds by activating the Kaioken, the technique King Kai taught him. His body flares red, his power doubles, and he intercepts Nappa with a blow so powerful that it breaks the Saiyan's spine. Nappa lies paralyzed in the dirt, begging Vegeta to help him. Vegeta extends his hand, and for a moment, Nappa believes his prince will save him. Instead, Vegeta hurls him into the air and vaporizes him with a single blast. A warrior who cannot fight is useless, he explains. Nappa's failure is an embarrassment to the Saiyan race. Goku sends Gohan and Krillin away. What comes next is not something they can help with. He and Vegeta face each other across the wasteland, two Saiyans preparing for a battle that will determine the fate of the Earth. Vegeta removes his armor, revealing a compact but impossibly muscular frame. He has been holding back, he explains. Nappa was an elite warrior, but Vegeta is something else entirely. He is the prince of all Saiyans, the most powerful of his kind, and he has never been defeated. The battle begins. Vegeta's power is everything he claimed and more. He matches Goku's base strength and exceeds it, driving the Earth-raised Saiyan back with a relentless assault. Goku activates Kaioken, doubling his power, and manages to fight on even terms. Vegeta is impressed but not worried. He increases his own output, and Goku is forced to push the Kaioken further, tripling his power. The strain on his body is immense, muscles tearing and bones cracking from the internal pressure. But he has no choice. Vegeta is simply too strong. The prince grows frustrated. He expected this battle to be entertaining, a chance to test himself against a fellow Saiyan, but Kakarot refuses to stay down. Every time Vegeta gains the upper hand, Goku finds another level. It is infuriating. Vegeta decides to end things definitively. He rises into the air and begins charging his ultimate technique, the Gallic Gun. This attack, he declares, will destroy both Goku and the planet itself. If he cannot have the Dragon Balls, then no one will. Goku meets the challenge. He plants his feet and cups his hands at his side, gathering energy for the Kamehameha. The two beams collide in the space between them, a struggle of wills as much as power. For a long moment, they are evenly matched. Then Vegeta begins to push forward. His beam advances, and Goku is driven backward, his feet carving trenches in the earth. In desperation, Goku pushes the Kaioken beyond anything he has attempted before. ×4. His body screams in protest, but the surge of power is enough. His Kamehameha overwhelms Vegeta's Gallic Gun and sends the prince hurtling into the sky. Vegeta survives, battered and enraged but alive. He cannot believe what has happened. A low-class warrior, a failure sent to a backwater planet as an infant, has actually hurt him. The prince of all Saiyans, wounded by common trash. His pride will not allow it. He reaches into his armor and produces a small sphere, a device that generates artificial moonlight. He throws it into the sky, and the false moon triggers the transformation that all Saiyans carry within them. Vegeta's body begins to change. The Great Ape form is the birthright of every Saiyan with a tail. Under the light of a full moon, their bodies transform into massive ape-like creatures, their power increasing tenfold. Vegeta becomes a monster, towering over the landscape, his eyes glowing red with primal fury. Goku, who lost his tail years ago, has no defense against this. The Kaioken means nothing against such overwhelming might. Vegeta beats him mercilessly, crushing his bones, shattering his spirit. Goku lies broken and helpless, unable to move, unable to fight, but he is not alone. Gohan and Krillin return, having felt the battle raging and unable to stay away. Yajirobe, who has been hiding throughout the conflict, emerges from the shadows with his sword. While Vegeta is distracted, the cowardly samurai does something incredibly brave. He cuts off Vegeta's tail. The transformation reverses. Vegeta shrinks back to his normal size, weakened but still dangerous. He turns his fury on the others, determined to kill them all. But Goku has one last gambit. Before the battle began, he started gathering energy for a spirit bomb. The attack requires time and concentration, both of which were impossible during the fight. But now, with Vegeta distracted, Goku completes the technique. He cannot throw it himself, so he transfers the energy to Krillin. Krillin launches the spirit bomb at Vegeta. The prince dodges, barely, but Gohan is in the blast's path. Goku, through King Kai's telepathic connection, tells his son that people with pure hearts can deflect the spirit bomb. Gohan does exactly that, bouncing the attack back toward Vegeta. Vegeta survives, but only barely. He crawls toward his space pod, broken and bleeding, his pride shattered as thoroughly as his body. Krillin picks up Yajirobe's sword and prepares to finish him. After everything Vegeta has done, after all the friends they have lost, surely he deserves death. But Goku stops him. He asks Krillin to let Vegeta go. It makes no sense. Vegeta is evil, unrepentant, and will certainly return to threaten them again. But Goku sees something else. He sees a warrior of incredible potential, someone who pushed him harder than anyone ever has. More than that, he wants the chance to fight Vegeta again, to surpass him on his own terms. Krillin, against his better judgment, lowers the sword. Vegeta drags himself into his pod and escapes into space, vowing revenge. The battle is over. Yamcha, Tien, Chiaotzu, and Piccolo are dead. Goku is crippled, his body broken in dozens of places. The Earth has survived, but at tremendous cost. And yet, there is hope. The Machian Dragon Balls. When Vegeta mentioned them, something clicked. Piccolo was a Namkian, an alien from a planet called Namek. If Namek has its own Dragon Balls, then perhaps their friends can be restored, their wishes granted, their losses reversed. The survivors begin to plan. Bulma will build a spaceship capable of reaching Namek. Gohan and Krillin will travel there to find the Dragon Balls while Goku recovers from his injuries. It is a desperate mission, a journey into the unknown, but it is their only chance. Goku remained on Earth, his recovery slow but steady. The doctors said he would need months to heal fully, but Goku had never been one to follow medical advice. He trained even in his hospital bed, lifting weights with his one working arm, doing sit-ups despite the agony in his broken ribs. When Bulma's father offered him a spaceship of his own, one equipped with an advanced gravity training system, Goku accepted immediately. As soon as he could move, he would follow his friends to Namek. The spaceship that carried Goku to Namek was a masterpiece of engineering, built by Dr. Brief using technology salvaged from the Saiyan space pod that had brought Goku to Earth as an infant. Bulma's father had spent months studying the alien systems, reverse engineering their gravity manipulation and propulsion methods, then incorporating them into a vessel large enough for human habitation. The centerpiece was a gravity control system that could multiply the ship's internal gravity up to 100 times Earth's normal pull. Goku used this system to transform his journey into a training gauntlet. He began at 20 times gravity, already twice as intense as King Kai's planet, and found that his body remembered the adaptation process. Within days he had adjusted, his movements becoming fluid despite the crushing weight. He increased to 30 times, then 40, pushing through the pain and exhaustion, driving himself toward limits he had never tested. At 50 times gravity, Goku nearly killed himself. A training accident sent him crashing into the ship's walls with force that would have pulverized ordinary bone. He lay broken and bleeding, barely able to reach the senzu beans that would save his life. But when he recovered, he found that his power had increased dramatically. This was the Saiyan gift that Vegeta prized so highly. The Zenkai, the genetic quirk that made Saiyans stronger only after recovering from near-fatal injuries. What would kill other races only made Saiyans more dangerous. Goku pushed to 100 times gravity. Every movement was agony. Simply standing required concentration and effort that would have exhausted him minutes before. He trained in this crushing environment for days, his body adapting, his power growing, until movements that had been impossible became merely difficult, then routine. When his ship finally landed on Namek, Goku emerged as something far beyond the warrior who had departed Earth. The ship carrying Gohan, Krillin, and Bulma had encountered problems almost immediately. They were intercepted by a group of soldiers in the service of Frieza, forcing them to hide on a desolate planet while they made repairs. They nearly lost their lives multiple times before finally reaching Namekian space. When they arrived, they found a world under siege. Frieza's forces had already collected several Dragon Balls. The tyrant himself oversaw the operation, a small pale figure with a tail and horns who radiated menace despite his diminutive size. Beside him stood his most trusted lieutenants, Zarbon, a beautiful warrior with a monstrous secret, and Dodoria, a massive pink creature of tremendous cruelty. The Namekians resisted where they could, but they were peaceful people, not warriors. They fell before Frieza's army like grass before a scythe. Gohan and Krillin witnessed one such massacre from hiding. A Namekian village was surrounded by soldiers demanding the location of the Dragon Ball. The elder refused to tell them. Frieza responded by ordering his men to kill the villagers one by one. When Gohan saw a child about to be murdered, he could not restrain himself. He burst from cover and attacked, catching the soldiers off guard and rescuing the young Namekian. Krillin followed, and together they fled into the wilderness with the child they had saved. The child's name was Dende. He explained the situation to them as they hid in a cave. Frieza arrived weeks ago and began hunting Dragon Balls. Each village on Namek had one, guarded by its elder. Frieza's method was simple. Demand the Dragon Ball, then destroy the village whether they complied or not. Most of the planet's population had already been killed. The few survivors had gone into hiding, including the Grand Elder Guru, the oldest and wisest Namekian, who created Namek's Dragon Balls and held the key to their power. Vegeta arrived on Namek shortly after, complicating an already dire situation. He was not there to help Frieza. He was there to steal the Dragon Balls for himself, to use them to become immortal, and finally surpass the tyrant who had treated him as a servant for so long. Vegeta began his own campaign of violence, attacking Frieza's soldiers and taking their Dragon Balls. He killed Dodoria in single combat. He tracked down Zarbon and, after an initial defeat, returned stronger and destroyed him as well. The prince was relentless, his power growing with every battle, driven by a hatred that had festered for decades. Frieza realized that Vegeta had become a genuine threat and summoned his elite fighting force, the Ginyu Force. These 5 warriors were among the strongest in the universe, each possessing unique abilities and absolute loyalty to Frieza. Their leader, Captain Ginyu, had the terrifying power to switch bodies with his opponents. The others were Rikum, a towering brute of incredible durability, Berta, who claimed to be the fastest in the universe, Jace, a vain warrior with powerful energy attacks, and Guldo, a small creature who could stop time briefly with his psychic abilities. Gohan and Krillin had found Guru's dwelling, a tall spire in the northern reaches of Namek. The Grand Elder was ancient and dying, but he still possessed great power. He unlocked the hidden potential within both visitors, dramatically increasing their strength. He also revealed the truth about Piccolo's heritage. The Namekians were not native to Namek. They were scattered across the universe by a great cataclysm long ago. Piccolo was the offspring of an Namekian who landed on Earth centuries past. More importantly, Guru knew how to restore Piccolo to life and even make him stronger. The Ginyu Force arrived and changed everything. Despite the power-ups from Guru, despite Vegeta's reluctant alliance with the Earthlings against a common enemy, the elite soldiers were overwhelming. Guldo was killed by Vegeta, but Recoome defeated Vegeta, Gohan, and Krillin with casual brutality. The three of them lay broken and beaten, about to be executed, when a new power appeared on the horizon. Goku had arrived. The training during his journey had transformed him. 100 times Earth's gravity, day after day, pushing his body beyond anything he thought possible. He landed beside his fallen friends and surveyed the situation with calm eyes. The Ginyu Force laughed at this newcomer. Their scouters read his power level as unremarkable, but Goku had learned to hide his true strength. He fed Senzu beans to Gohan, Krillin, and even Vegeta, restoring them to full health. Then he faced Recoome, the monster who just demolished 3 powerful fighters without breaking a sweat. The battle lasted approximately 2 seconds. Goku moved with speed that Recoome could not perceive and delivered a single elbow strike to the gut. The massive warrior collapsed, defeated instantly. Berta and Jis attacked together, convinced that their combined speed and power could overcome this strange newcomer. They were wrong. Goku defeated Berta with similar ease, then turned his attention to the fleeing Jis. The red-skinned warrior escaped to report to Captain Ginyu, leaving Goku standing victorious over the bodies of enemies who were thought to be invincible. Captain Ginyu did not underestimate Goku the way his subordinates did. He had been watching through his scouter, analyzing the newcomer's movements and power. When Jace returned with his report, Ginyu decided to handle this personally. The two of them flew to intercept Goku, leaving Frieza to continue his pursuit of the remaining Dragon Balls. The confrontation between Goku and Ginyu was unlike any Goku had faced before. Ginyu was not simply powerful. He was skilled, experienced, and utterly without honor. Their initial exchange proved them evenly matched, both warriors holding back their true strength. When Ginyu revealed his maximum power level, Goku responded by demonstrating his own. The purple captain was stunned. Goku's power exceeded anything he had ever encountered, anything he believed possible for a mortal being. Ginyu made a desperate decision. He could not defeat Goku in a fair fight, so he would not fight fairly. He stabbed himself through the chest, grievously wounding his own body, then activated his most terrifying technique. Body change. His consciousness leapt from his wounded form and into Goku's healthy one, while Goku's mind was trapped in Jinyu's damaged body. The stolen Goku attacked Gohan and Krillin, but something was wrong. Ginyu had Goku's body, but not his knowledge or his skill. He could not access the full extent of Goku's power because he did not understand how that power worked. Gohan and Krillin, fighting alongside the reluctantly allied Vegeta, managed to hold him off. When Goku, in Jinyu's broken body, arrived and explained what happened, Vegeta saw an opportunity to eliminate a weakened enemy and nearly killed Goku before understanding the situation. Ginyu attempted another body change, targeting Vegeta this time, but Goku, even crippled and bleeding, threw himself into the path of the technique. Their consciousnesses swapped again, returning each to their original bodies. Ginyu, enraged and humiliated, tried one more time, but Goku threw a Namekian frog into the beam's path. The captain of the Ginyu Force found himself trapped in the body of a small amphibian, croaking helplessly as his dreams of power hopped away into the Namekian swamp. With the Ginyu Force defeated, the battlefield shifted. Frieza had grown tired of searching for Dragon Balls and had decided to confront Guru directly. The remaining heroes must race to stop him, but Goku was in no condition to fight. His body, recovered from Ginyu but still damaged from the captain's self-inflicted wounds, needed time to heal. Vegeta placed him in a rejuvenation tank aboard Frieza's own ship, a calculated risk that left their strongest warrior temporarily helpless. Krillin, Gohan, and Dende gathered the Dragon Balls while Frieza was distracted. They summoned Porunga, the Namekian dragon, a massive serpentine creature far more imposing than Earth's Shenron. Porunga granted 3 wishes rather than 1, but each wish could only affect a single person. Their plan was simple: wish Piccolo back to life, wish him to Namek, then use the final wish to defeat Frieza somehow. The first 2 wishes succeeded. Piccolo returned from the dead and appeared on Namek, fused with a dying Namekian warrior named Nail, whose power added to his own. But before the 3rd wish could be made, Guru died of grief and exhaustion. The Dragon Balls turned to stone, and Porunga vanished. Frieza arrived at the site of the summoning. He had been denied his wish for immortality, and his fury was boundless. For the first time, the heroes saw the tyrant up close. He was small, almost delicate, with pale skin and cold eyes that held nothing resembling mercy. His power was so vast that their senses could barely comprehend it. Even Vegeta, who had grown stronger than ever through his battles on Namek, recognized that they were hopelessly outmatched. The battle for Namek began. Frieza did not take his opponents seriously at first. He toyed with them, using only a fraction of his power, amused by their desperate struggles. Vegeta, Gohan, Krillin, and the newly arrived Piccolo attacked from all directions, combining their techniques in ways they had never attempted before. They managed to wound Frieza, drawing blood, shocking the tyrant who had not been injured in combat for decades. His amusement faded. Frieza revealed a truth that Vegeta had never been allowed to know. The meteor that destroyed planet Vegeta was not a natural disaster. Frieza destroyed it himself. He feared the Saiyan's growing power and the legend of the Super Saiyan, a warrior who would one day rise to challenge him. Rather than wait for that prophecy to come true, he exterminated the entire race, keeping only a handful of useful servants like Vegeta and Nappa. Everything Vegeta had ever known, his planet, his people, his family, was taken from him by the smiling monster who stood before him now. The weight of this revelation carried decades of suppressed anguish. Vegeta had been a child when his world ended, a prince taken from his kingdom and forced to serve the murderer of his people. His father, King Vegeta, had attempted a rebellion against Frieza just before the planet's destruction, gathering the strongest Saiyan warriors for an assault on the tyrant. They had failed utterly. Frieza killed the king and his soldiers without effort, then destroyed the planet moments later, erasing any evidence of Saiyan defiance. Young Vegeta was spared only because he was useful. His prodigious talent made him valuable as a soldier, and his royal blood made him a symbol that Frieza could control. The tyrant enjoyed having a Saiyan prince as his servant, enjoyed the humiliation it represented, enjoyed watching Vegeta's pride struggle against the reality of his servitude. For decades, Vegeta had swallowed this indignity, had channeled his rage into becoming stronger, had told himself that one day he would surpass Frieza and claim the revenge that was his birthright. But he had never dared to act. He had seen what happened to those who defied the Emperor. He had learned to survive by submission, even as his soul screamed for justice. Vegeta's response was rage unlike anything he had ever felt. He transformed, or believed he had transformed, declaring himself the Super Saiyan of legend. He attacked Frieza with everything he had, every technique, every ounce of power, every drop of hatred accumulated over a lifetime of servitude and loss. Frieza watched with what might be pity. Then he transformed. Frieza's first form, the one they had been fighting, was merely a shell to contain his true power. He shed it like old skin, revealing a second form, taller, more muscular, with elongated horns and a face twisted in cruelty. His power doubled, then doubled again. Vegeta's attacks, which were barely scratching him before, now did nothing at all. The prince was beaten savagely, reduced to a bleeding wreck on the Namekian ground. Piccolo stepped in, his fusion with Nail having elevated him to heights he never imagined. He fought Frieza's second form to a standstill, even gaining the upper hand at times. For a moment, hope flickered, but Frieza had more transformation still. His third form was grotesque, alien, his head elongating into something almost xenomorphic. His fourth form, His final form was a return to simplicity, sleek, white, almost elegant, and containing power that dwarfed everything that came before. In his final form, Frieza was beyond any of them. He defeated Piccolo with ease. He tortured Gohan for sport. He killed Dende, the young Namekian who had been healing their wounds throughout the battle, removing their only means of recovery. When Vegeta, battered and broken, made one last desperate appeal to Goku's Saiyan heritage, begging him to avenge their race, Frieza silenced him with a death beam through the heart. Vegeta died with tears in his eyes, asking Goku to destroy Frieza, not for himself, but for all the Saiyans who could no longer seek revenge. Goku promised. He dug a grave for his former enemy with his bare hands, and swore that Frieza would pay for what he had done. The final battle began. Goku, fully healed from his time in the rejuvenation tank, faced Frieza across the scarred Namekian landscape. They were the two strongest beings in the universe, and they both knew it. Frieza was curious about this Saiyan who continued to defy him, this low-class warrior who somehow kept surviving. Goku did not care about Frieza's curiosity. He cared only about ending this. Their clash shook the planet. Energy beams split the sky. Mountains crumbled from the shockwaves of their blows. Frieza used 50% of his power, then 70%, continuously underestimating his opponent and being forced to escalate. Goku matched him at every stage, drawing on reserves of strength that King Kai's training unlocked, pushing the Kaioken to dangerous new levels. But it was not enough. Frieza had more power to draw upon. Goku did not. In desperation, Goku began gathering energy for the Spirit Bomb. He reached out to every living thing on Namek, to the planet itself, to the distant stars, drawing their life force into a single sphere of incredible destructive potential. Frieza realized what was happening and tried to stop him, but Piccolo, Gohan, and Krillin threw themselves at the tyrant, buying time with their lives. The Spirit Bomb completed. Goku threw it. The blast was enormous, visible from space, engulfing Frieza in energy drawn from across the galaxy. When the light faded, the tyrant was gone. The heroes began to celebrate, battered and exhausted but alive. Against all odds, they had won. Then Frieza emerged from the smoke. He was damaged, finally, truly wounded for the first time in the battle. His armor was destroyed, his body scorched, and his pride shattered. No one had ever hurt him like this. No one had ever come this close to defeating him. He responded with murderous intent. A death beam lanced through Piccolo's chest, dropping the Namekian warrior. Then Frieza turned his power on Krillin. What happened next was not a technique or a beam. Frieza simply lifted Krillin into the air with his mind and expanded the energy inside him. Krillin exploded. Goku's best friend, the companion who had been by his side since childhood, died screaming before his eyes. The legend of the Super Saiyan had haunted Frieza for decades before this moment brought it to life. Ancient Saiyan mythology spoke of a warrior who would arise once every 1,000 years, possessed of power beyond comprehension, whose golden aura would herald the doom of tyrants. Most dismissed it as primitive superstition, the desperate fantasy of a warrior race seeking to believe in their own importance. But Frieza was not most beings. The Galactic Emperor had conquered countless worlds and destroyed civilizations beyond counting. He had faced warriors of every species and defeated them all. Yet something about the Saiyans troubled him. They grew stronger after every battle, their power increasing with each brush with death. They were naturally gifted fighters who improved at rates that other races could not match. And they bred quickly, their numbers swelling, even as Frieza used them as shock troops for his conquests. Frieza did the mathematics of fear. If the Saiyans continued to grow in power and population, eventually one of them would surpass him. The legend of the Super Saiyan gave form to this anxiety, transforming it from vague concern into specific terror. When Frieza destroyed planet Vegeta, he told the surviving Saiyans that a meteor had struck their world. But the truth was genocide, the calculated extermination of an entire race because their emperor feared what they might become. The irony was exquisite. By destroying the Saiyans, Frieza scattered the survivors across the universe. One of them, an infant deemed too weak to be worth killing, landed on Earth, and grew into the very warrior Frieza had tried to prevent. Goku achieved the Super Saiyan transformation not through Saiyan pride or warrior culture, but through love for his friends and rage at their murder. The prophecy fulfilled itself precisely because Frieza tried to prevent it. Something broke inside Goku as Krillin was murdered before his eyes. Something transformed. His hair rose and turned golden. His eyes shifted to a fierce teal green. Power erupted from his body in waves that cracked the ground and parted the clouds. The legendary transformation that Frieza feared, the prophecy that drove him to genocide, came true before his eyes. Goku had become a Super Saiyan. The nature of the battle changed completely. Frieza, at 100% of his power, could not match the Super Saiyan. Every attack was blocked, every technique countered. Goku moved with the confidence of absolute superiority, and Frieza knew terror for the first time in his life. He had spent his existence as the strongest being in the universe. Now he faced something stronger. Frieza made his final gambit. If he could not defeat Goku, he would destroy Namek itself. He fired a blast into the planet's core, beginning a chain reaction that would tear the world apart in minutes. If he must die here, he would take everyone with him. The planet began to collapse. Goku sent Gohan away, ordering him to find Bulma and escape in her ship. Piccolo survived, barely, and was also evacuated. Goku remained to finish Frieza, not out of vengeance, but out of necessity. The tyrant could not be allowed to escape and threaten other worlds. Their final exchange was brutal and decisive. Goku offered Frieza mercy, a chance to leave and never return. Frieza responded by attacking with his remaining energy, a desperate slash that Goku easily dodged. He would not accept mercy from a Saiyan. He would not accept defeat from anyone. Goku granted him neither mercy nor victory. He unleashed a final attack that engulfed Frieza, leaving the tyrant broken and burning on the dying planet. Namek exploded. The watching universe believed that Goku had died along with it, a hero's sacrifice to end a monster's reign. On Earth, the gathered friends mourned. The Dragon Balls had been restored by a new guardian, and they wished back all of Frieza's victims. But they could not wish back Goku if he died by natural causes, like a planet's destruction. They grieved for their fallen champion. But Goku was not dead. At the last moment, he found one of the Jinyu Force's space pods and escaped the explosion. He crash-landed on a distant planet called Yardrat, where the inhabitants nursed him back to health and taught him a new technique, instant transmission, the ability to teleport instantly to any location by sensing energy signatures. Goku trained with them for over a year, mastering the skill and recovering from his injuries, unaware that his friends believed him gone. On Earth, life continued. The Dragon Balls brought back everyone who died at Frieza's hands, including Vegeta, who found himself stranded on a planet he once tried to destroy. Piccolo trained Gohan, preparing for threats that may never come. Bulma continued her scientific work at Capsule Corporation, her mind never truly at rest, always inventing something new. And somewhere in space, Frieza survived. The tyrant's father, King Cold, found his son's broken body drifting in the void. Using advanced technology, he rebuilt Frieza as a cyborg, replacing his destroyed limbs and organs with mechanical enhancements. Together, father and son set course for Earth. If Frieza could not have immortality, he would have revenge. The peace that followed Namek's destruction lasted nearly 2 years. In that time, the warriors of Earth trained and recovered, strengthened by their experiences, but haunted by them as well. Gohan continued his studies under Chi-Chi's watchful eye, while training with Piccolo whenever he could escape her supervision. Vegeta, stranded on Earth with nowhere else to go, threw himself into relentless training, driven by the humiliation of being surpassed by a low-class warrior. The prince trained in conditions that would kill ordinary men, pushing his body through gravity chambers and isolation, chasing the transformation that Goku had achieved and he had not. Then the sensors detected it. 2 enormous power levels entering Earth's atmosphere, heading directly for the planet's surface. The signatures were unmistakable. One of them was Frieza. The fighters gathered quickly, drawn by the terrible energy they sensed descending from the sky, believing it to be Frieza. They arrived at the landing site before Frieza's ship touched down, a barren wasteland far from any city. The tyrant emerged with his father at his side, his body now a patchwork of metal and flesh, his hatred undimmed by his reconstruction. King Cold was enormous, towering over his son, radiating power that matched or exceeded Frieza's own. Together, they commanded enough strength to destroy the planet several times over. The defenders of Earth faced them with grim determination. They knew they could not win. Vegeta had grown stronger, but not strong enough. Piccolo had trained relentlessly, but the gap remained too vast. Gohan's hidden power slumbered within him, unreliable and beyond his control. They prepared to fight anyway, to die defending their home, when a new figure appeared. He was young, perhaps 17 or 18, with lavender hair and a sword strapped across his back. He landed between the heroes and the villains with calm confidence, his eyes fixed on Frieza. The tyrant did not recognize him. None of them did. When Frieza's soldiers attacked, the stranger cut them down without effort, his blade moving faster than sight. When Frieza himself unleashed his full power, the stranger smiled. Golden light erupted from his body. His hair rose and turned the color of sunlight. His eyes shifted to fierce teal. The stranger was a Super Saiyan. The battle lasted seconds. Frieza attacked with everything he had, the same power that had terrorized Namek, the same strength that had murdered Krillin and countless others. The stranger blocked every blow, deflected every beam, then drew his sword and cut Frieza into pieces. Before King Cold could react, the stranger destroyed Frieza's remains with a blast of energy, then turned and did the same to the Emperor's father. The tyrant who had haunted their nightmares, who had seemed so invincible, was simply gone. The stranger sheathed his sword and turned to the stunned defenders. He introduced himself as Trunks, though he offered no other explanation for his presence. He told them that Goku would arrive at this location in approximately 3 hours, having finally completed his journey home from space. Then he asked them to wait with him. He had information they needed to hear. Goku arrived exactly when Trunks predicted, using the instant transmission technique to appear beside his friends in a flash of displaced air. The reunion was warm but brief. Trunks asked to speak with Goku privately, and the two Saiyans flew to a nearby ridge where they could talk unobserved. What Trunks revealed changed everything. He was not from this time. He had traveled from 20 years in the future, a future where Earth lay in ruins, devastated by a pair of androids created by a scientist named Dr. Gero. In that timeline, Goku died of a viral heart disease before the androids appeared. Without him, the other warriors fell one by one. Vegeta, Piccolo, Krillin, Tien, Yamcha, even young Gohan eventually perished fighting enemies they could not defeat. Only Trunks survived, trained by the future Gohan until his mentor's death, then left alone to continue a hopeless resistance. The future that Trunks escaped was a nightmare of ash and ruin. In his timeline, Goku had died from the heart virus before the androids ever appeared, his body betraying him in a way that no enemy ever could. Without Goku, the other warriors faced androids 17 and 18 alone. Vegeta fell first, his pride driving him to challenge enemies he could not defeat. Piccolo followed, then Tien and Yamcha and Krillin, each death leaving the survivors more desperate and outnumbered. Only Gohan remained, the son of Goku, grown into a scarred and weary warrior who fought a hopeless resistance against machines that could not be stopped. He took young Trunks as his student, teaching him everything he knew, preparing him for battles that seemed impossible to win. The two of them became the last defenders of a shattered Earth, striking at the androids when they could, fleeing when they could not, watching humanity dwindle year by year. Gohan lost his arm protecting Trunks from an android attack. The injury did not stop him from fighting, but it marked the beginning of the end. The androids found them during a rainstorm, and Gohan, knowing he could not win, hid Trunks and faced them alone. When Trunks emerged from hiding to find his mentor's body lying in the mud, something broke within him, and something else awakened. His grief and rage triggered the Super Saiyan transformation, golden light erupting from his body as he screamed at the uncaring sky. Bulma, older now and hardened by decades of loss, had been working on a desperate project. Using salvage technology and theories she had developed over years of study, she built a time machine. There was not enough power for multiple trips, not enough fuel for anything but a one-way journey. She gave her son the medicine that could have saved Goku and sent him into the past, hoping that changing history might give humanity a chance. Trunks handed Goku a small vial of purple liquid. The heart virus would strike in 3 years. The medicine would save his life. The androids would appear on a specific date, at a specific location, and if the fighters of this era trained hard enough, perhaps they could succeed where Trunks' timeline had failed. There was one more revelation. Trunks was the son of Vegeta and Bulma. In his timeline, his parents had a brief relationship before the androids destroyed everything. He had grown up without ever knowing his father, trained only by the stories Gohan told him. Meeting Vegeta now, seeing him alive and proud and difficult, was something Trunks had never expected to experience. Goku promised to keep the secret. Trunks returned to his time machine and vanished into the future, leaving the present-day warriors with 3 years to prepare for the coming storm. Those 3 years passed in intense training. Goku worked with Gohan and Piccolo, pushing all 3 of them to new heights. Vegeta trained alone, as always, his pride preventing him from accepting help, even when it might benefit him. The others trained as well, though they knew in their hearts that the gap between themselves and the Saiyan warriors grew wider with each passing day. When the fateful date arrived, they gathered at the location Trunks had specified. The androids appeared, but not the ones Trunks had described. Dr. Gero had accelerated his plans, creating androids 19 and 20 before the models that would terrorize the future. Android 19 was a rotund, pale figure with a permanent smile, designed to absorb energy through his hands. Android 20 was Dr. Gero himself, having transferred his brain into an android body to ensure his survival and his revenge. But something was wrong. The heart virus, the same disease that killed him in Trunks' timeline, struck suddenly during the battle. Goku's strength faded rapidly as the illness attacked his cardiovascular system. Android 19 began absorbing his energy, draining him with each contact, and Goku collapsed, unable to continue. Vegeta arrived in time to save his rival's life. The prince had finally achieved what he had sought for so long. Golden light surrounded him as he transformed into a Super Saiyan, his power erupting in waves that scattered the clouds. He faced Android 19 with contemptuous ease, allowing the machine to absorb his energy just to demonstrate how little it mattered, then destroyed it with a devastating attack he called the Big Bang. Dr. Gero fled to his laboratory, and the warriors pursued. They arrived too late. Gero activated androids 17 and 18, the models that would devastate the future. But these androids were not what Gero expected either. They had been programmed to destroy Goku, but beyond that single directive, they possessed free will. They did not take orders. When Gero tried to command them, Android 17 deliberately killed his creator, crushing the remote control that might have deactivated them, and then crushing Gero's head with equal indifference. The androids discovered a third model in the laboratory, Android 16, a massive red-haired figure built in the image of Gero's dead son. Unlike 17 and 18, Android 16 was purely mechanical, with no human components. He was also, as they would discover, programmed solely to destroy Goku, and otherwise had no interest in violence. The 3 androids departed together, leaving the warriors uncertain how to proceed. Trunks arrived again from the future, confused by how different events were unfolding. The androids he knew were different from these. They were more powerful, yes, but also more capricious, treating their mission to find Goku as a game rather than an objective. What Trunks did not know, what none of them knew yet, was that a far greater threat had already arrived. In another part of the world, a monster was growing. Cell had traveled back in time using a different time machine, one stolen from a Trunks in yet another timeline. Cell was not an android, but a bio-organic weapon, created by Dr. Gero's computer using genetic material harvested from the greatest warriors Earth had ever known. Saiyan cells gave him the ability to grow stronger after recovering from injury. Frieza's cells gave him the ability to survive in the vacuum of space. Piccolo's cells gave him regeneration. The cells of Goku, Vegeta, and the human fighters gave him access to their techniques. Cell was designed to be the ultimate warrior, but his creation required one final component: the absorption of androids 17 and 18. Cell in his initial form was monstrous, a hunched insectoid creature with a long tail ending in a spike that could pierce flesh and drain the life from victims. He stalked the countryside, attacking cities and absorbing thousands of people to increase his power. Piccolo, having fused with Kami to become whole again, confronted the monster and forced him to explain his origins. The revelation horrified everyone who heard it. They now faced not one threat, but two: the androids who sought Goku, and Cell who sought the androids. The race to find the androids became desperate. Vegeta and Trunks entered the hyperbolic time chamber, a room within Kami's lookout where a year of training could be completed in a single day outside. Goku recovered from his heart virus thanks to the medicine Trunks had provided and entered the chamber next with Gohan. The hyperbolic time chamber existed within the lookout, a pocket dimension where time flowed differently from the outside world. One day beyond its doors equaled an entire year within, allowing warriors to compress decades of training into mere weeks. But the chamber was not a gift freely given. Its environment was hostile in ways that tested more than physical strength. Beyond the entrance lay an endless white void, a featureless expanse that stretched to infinity in every direction. There was no horizon, no landmarks, nothing to anchor the mind against the emptiness. The temperature swung wildly, from burning heat to freezing cold, shifting without warning or pattern. Gravity fluctuated, sometimes crushing, sometimes disorienting in its lightness. The air grew thin at times, forcing labored breathing, then thick and heavy the next moment. Goku and Gohan entered the chamber together, father and son preparing for a battle that would determine Earth's fate. Their goal was not merely to grow stronger, but to master the Super Saiyan transformation so completely that it became their natural state. The strain of maintaining the form had always limited its usefulness, draining energy and clouding judgment with aggression. They sought to eliminate these drawbacks, to exist as Super Saiyans as easily as they existed in their base forms. The year they spent in that endless void forged a bond between them that transcended their roles as parent and child. They trained together, ate together, slept in the small living quarters near the entrance, and pushed each other toward heights neither could have reached alone. When they emerged, their hair still golden, their eyes still teal, their power held casually within forms that had once required desperate effort, they had achieved what they sought. Full power Super Saiyan, the mastered state, became their foundation for the battle against Cell. Vegeta and Trunks made their own journey into the chamber, though their experience differed greatly. Where Goku sought balance, Vegeta pursued raw power at any cost. He discovered forms beyond ordinary Super Saiyan, bulging muscles and tremendous strength. But these transformations carried costs he refused to acknowledge until his defeat by Perfect Cell made them undeniable. Meanwhile, Cell grew stronger with each victim he claimed, evolving closer to the form he needed to reach his perfect state. Piccolo found the androids first and engaged Android 17 in battle. Their fight was evenly matched, two warriors of tremendous power trading blows across a chain of islands. But Cell had been tracking them, and he arrived at the worst possible moment. The monster attacked while both fighters were weakened, and despite 17's attempts to resist, Cell absorbed him. The transformation was immediate and horrifying. Cell's body shifted, becoming taller, more humanoid, his face taking on features that were almost handsome in their cruelty. Semi-perfect Cell had been born. Android 16 attempted to stop Cell, and for a time, he seemed to be succeeding. The mechanical warrior's power matched Cell's new form, and his lack of organic components meant Cell could not absorb him. Their battle raged across the islands while Android 18 hid, knowing that Cell would complete his transformation if he found her. But Cell was clever. When 16's assault slowed, Cell used the opening to search for 18 directly. Vegeta and Trunks emerged from the time chamber, their power dramatically increased. Vegeta had achieved a new level of Super Saiyan strength, one that let him dominate semi-perfect Cell in combat. The monster begged for mercy, pleaded for Vegeta to let him absorb 18 and achieve his perfect form, promising that the battle would be far more interesting if he were complete. Vegeta, in his arrogance and his hunger for challenge, agreed. Trunks tried to stop Cell. Krillin, who had found 18 hiding and developed feelings for the blonde android, tried to stop Cell. Neither succeeded. Cell absorbed Android 18, and his transformation into Perfect Cell was complete. The being that emerged was elegant and terrible, with an almost regal bearing and power that dwarfed everything they had felt before. He defeated Vegeta effortlessly. He defeated Trunks with similar ease. Then he made an announcement that would be broadcast to the entire world. The Cell Games would begin in 10 days. Cell constructed a fighting arena and challenged Earth's warriors to face him one by one. If they could defeat him, he would leave the planet in peace. If they failed, he would destroy Earth and everyone on it. The terms were simple. The stakes were absolute. Goku and Gohan emerged from the time chamber having undergone a transformation of their own. They had achieved a state beyond regular Super Saiyan, one that allowed them to maintain the transformation continuously without the strain it normally caused. Goku assessed Cell's power and made a decision that shocked everyone. He would fight in the Cell Games, but he did not believe he could win. His true plan centered on someone else, someone whose potential exceeded everyone, including his own. The 10 days passed. The Cell Games began. The world's supposed champion, a fraud named Hercule Satan, who had convinced the public that all ki-based abilities were tricks and illusions, attempted to fight Cell first. He was swatted aside like an insect, surviving only because Cell found him too amusing to kill. Then, the real tournament began. Goku faced Cell in a battle that pushed both warriors to their limits. They exchanged blows that shattered the arena and cracked the earth. Goku used techniques no one had seen before, including an instant Kamehameha that materialized directly in front of Cell's face. But as the battle progressed, it became clear that Goku could not win. Cell was simply stronger, and he was not even using his full power. Goku recognized this and made a choice that stunned everyone watching. He surrendered. More than that, he nominated his son to fight in his place. Gohan, 11 years old, was pushed forward to face the monster that had defeated his father. The other warriors were horrified. Piccolo accused Goku of gambling with his son's life. Even Cell seemed disappointed, expecting a better challenge than a child could provide. But Goku knew something that none of them did. He had seen Gohan's hidden power emerge again and again throughout their training. He knew that within his son lay strength beyond anything Cell had ever faced. It simply needed the right trigger to emerge. The battle between Gohan and Cell was brutal. Cell held every advantage in skill and experience, and he used it to torture the boy, breaking his bones and mocking his weakness. He created smaller versions of himself, called Cell Juniors, and sent them to attack the other warriors, forcing Gohan to watch his friends and family being beaten, while he could do nothing to help. Cell wanted to see Gohan's hidden power. He believed that pushing the boy to desperation would unlock it. He was right, but not in the way he expected. Android 16, who had been damaged but not destroyed in earlier battles, crawled toward Gohan with a final message. The gentle giant, who loved nature and hated violence despite being built for war, told Gohan that it was okay to fight, that protecting the things you love was not a sin but a duty, that Gohan's kindness was his greatest strength, not his weakness. Cell, annoyed by the interruption, crushed 16's head beneath his foot. Gohan broke. The transformation that followed was unlike anything seen before, a state beyond Super Saiyan. His hair grew spikier, his aura crackled with lightning, and his power surged to levels that made Cell's full strength seem insignificant. Super Saiyan 2 had awakened, and with it came a Gohan that none of them recognized. Cold, furious, and absolutely merciless. He destroyed the Cell Juniors in seconds. He retrieved the senzu beans that Cell had stolen and distributed them to his wounded friends. Then he turned his attention to Cell himself, the monster who had terrorized the world, who had absorbed thousands of victims, who had defeated every warrior Earth could muster, found himself utterly outclassed. Gohan did not just beat Cell, he humiliated him, landing blows that Cell could not block, dodging attacks that Cell could not land, systematically dismantling the being who had believed himself perfect. In desperation, Cell attempted to destroy the Earth itself. He began expanding his body, preparing to self-destruct with enough force to obliterate the planet. There was no time to escape, no technique that could stop him. The world was about to end. Goku made his choice. He placed his hand on Cell's bloated form, looked at his son one last time, and used instant transmission to teleport them both away. They materialized on King Kai's small planet in the afterlife, and Cell exploded, killing Goku, King Kai, and his companions. Gohan's father died to save the world, sacrificing himself so that his son and his friends could live. But Cell survived. His core, a cluster of cells located within his head, had regenerated his entire body. Worse, the Saiyan cells within him responded to his near-death experience by making him stronger than ever before. He returned to Earth in a flash of light, his first act being to kill Trunks with a death beam through the chest. Vegeta, watching his son from the future die before his eyes, attacked Cell in blind fury. The monster defeated him easily and prepared to finish him off. Gohan intervened, taking a blast meant for Vegeta and crippling his left arm in the process. Now he faced Cell with only one functioning limb, his power diminished, his confidence shaken. Cell was stronger than before, Gohan was weaker. The outcome seemed certain. Then Goku's voice reached him from the afterlife. Father spoke to son across the barrier between life and death, encouraging him, believing in him, reminding him that he had the strength to win if he would only use it. Gohan gathered his remaining energy and prepared a final Kamehameha. Cell did the same, a massive beam meant to destroy not just Gohan, but the entire solar system. The two attacks collided. For a long moment, they were evenly matched, two streams of destruction pushing against each other with the fate of everything hanging in the balance. Cell pushed forward, his power seemingly endless. Gohan held on, his one arm trembling, his energy fading. Vegeta attacked. The prince, so recently defeated, rose from the ground and fired a blast at Cell's back. It was not enough to hurt the monster, but it distracted him for a crucial second. In that second, Gohan heard his father's voice one more time, telling him to release everything, to let go of his restraint and fight with all his heart. Gohan screamed, his power erupting in a final surge, and his Kamehameha overwhelmed Cell completely. The monster was destroyed. Every cell was vaporized, leaving nothing that could regenerate. Perfect Cell, the ultimate weapon, was gone. In the aftermath, the Dragon Balls were gathered. Trunks was restored to life. The victims of Cell's rampage were resurrected, but Goku chose not to return. Speaking through King Kai, he explained that too many threats had come to Earth because of him. Frieza, the androids, Cell, all of them had been drawn into Earth's fate through Goku. Perhaps with him gone, the Earth would finally know peace. He was happy in the afterlife, able to train with the greatest warriors who had ever lived. He asked his friends to take care of his family, and to live their lives without grief. Gohan wept, Chi-Chi wept. Even Piccolo, the demon who had once sworn to destroy Goku, felt the loss. But they honored his wishes. They moved forward into a world without Goku, carrying his memory and his legacy with them. Trunks returned to his own time with the knowledge and the power he had gained. He destroyed the androids that had terrorized his world, then destroyed the cell of his timeline before it could absorb them. His future, while still scarred by the years of devastation, finally had hope. On Earth, the aftermath of Cell's defeat required more than mourning. When Piccolo had fused with Kami to gain the power needed against the androids, Earth lost its guardian. The Dragon Balls had turned to stone, their creator absorbed into a warrior who could no longer maintain them. Without a guardian, the planet lacked protection against spiritual threats, and more importantly, the Dragon Balls that had saved so many lives would remain inert forever. The solution came from Namek, Young Dende, the child Gohan had saved during Frieza's rampage, had grown into a capable healer with deep knowledge of his people's traditions. He understood the Dragon Balls in ways that even Kami had not, for Dende had learned from Guru himself, the eldest Namekian and creator of Namek's more powerful Dragon Balls. When Goku suggested that Dende become Earth's new guardian, the young Namekian accepted the responsibility with humble determination. Dende's first act as guardian was to recreate the Dragon Balls, and he improved upon Kami's original design. Where Shenron had once granted only a single wish, Dende's version could grant 2. Where the old Dragon Balls required a full year to recharge, these would be ready again in mere months. The young guardian took his place in the lookout, watching over the planet that had given him refuge, ready to heal those who needed him and maintain the magical artifacts that represented hope for all who lived below. On Earth, 7 years passed in peace. Gohan grew into a young man. He attended high school, as his mother had always wanted, hiding his powers from classmates who knew nothing of alien warriors and magical Dragon Balls. The transition from warrior to student was not always smooth. Gohan had spent his childhood training to save the world, and the concerns of ordinary teenagers seemed trivial by comparison. Yet he found unexpected joy in the mundane rhythms of school life, in making friends who valued him for his kindness rather than his power, in exploring subjects that had nothing to do with combat. He adopted a disguise to fight crime in the city, calling himself the Great Saiyaman, and striking poses that embarrassed everyone who knew him. The costume was ridiculous, a helmet and cape combination that looked like something from a children's television program, and his dramatic announcements before confronting criminals made even hardened villains pause in confusion. But Gohan enjoyed the theatricality of it. For the first time in his life, he could be a hero without the weight of the world on his shoulders, stopping bank robberies and car chases instead of facing genocidal tyrants. He fell in love with a girl named Videl, the daughter of Hercule Satan, who had taken credit for Cell's defeat and become the world's most famous hero. Videl was fierce and determined, a skilled martial artist in her own right, who had grown up believing her father's lies about defeating Cell. When she discovered that Gohan was the Great Saiyaman, she demanded answers. When she learned the truth about the Cell games, about Ki and Flight, and the real heroes who had saved the world, her worldview shattered and reformed into something stronger. She did not resent the deception. She understood why it was necessary, and she fell in love with the gentle warrior who had carried such enormous burdens with such quiet grace. Gohan taught Videl to fly, spending hours with her in secluded mountain valleys, watching her frustration transform into joy as she finally lifted off the ground. These peaceful moments, free from combat and crisis, were perhaps the happiest of Gohan's life. He had found someone who knew his secrets and accepted them, someone who saw both the scholar and the warrior within him, and loved both equally. Vegeta remained on Earth, living with Bulma and their son Trunks. The prince still trained obsessively, but his edges had softened somewhat. He would never admit to caring about his family, but his actions spoke louder than his words. When young Trunks showed Saiyan potential, Vegeta trained him with a pride he could not entirely conceal. Goku's second son, Goten, was born shortly after his father's death. Chi-Chi raised him alone, with help from Gohan and their friends. Goten grew up hearing stories about his father, idolizing a man he had never met. He became best friends with Trunks, and together they discovered that they had inherited the Saiyan ability to transform. At the ages of 7 and 8, they achieved Super Saiyan forms that had taken their fathers decades to attain. The peace could not last forever. A new World Martial Arts tournament was announced, and for the first time in years, Goku would be allowed to return. The rules of the afterlife permitted him 24 hours on Earth to compete. His friends and family gathered for the reunion, eager to see him again after so many years. But unknown to them, the tournament had attracted darker attention. A wizard named Babidi had come to Earth seeking energy. His father, Bibidi, had created a monster of unimaginable power called Majin Buu. a being of pure destruction that had terrorized the universe millions of years ago. The Supreme Kais, the gods who oversaw creation, had defeated Babidi and sealed Boo away in a magical ball that was eventually hidden on Earth. Now Babidi sought to gather enough energy to break that seal and unleash Boo upon the universe once more. Babidi's servants infiltrated the tournament. Two fighters named Spopovich and Yamu attacked Gohan during his match, draining his energy with a device that funneled it directly to Babidi's ship. The Supreme Kai himself, a purple-skinned deity who had been watching these events unfold, revealed himself to the warriors and explained the threat. They followed Spopovich and Yamu to Babidi's location, determined to stop the wizard before Boo could be released. What followed was a nightmare. Babidi possessed the ability to control anyone with darkness in their heart. His servant Dabura, the king of the demon realm, proved to be a formidable opponent. But the true disaster came when Babidi sensed the darkness within Vegeta's soul. The prince's pride, his hunger for power, his lingering resentment of Goku, all of it provided a foothold for Babidi's magic. Vegeta allowed himself to be taken, trading his free will for a boost in power that he believed would finally let him surpass Kakarot. Majin Vegeta, as he called himself, demanded a battle with Goku. When Goku refused, Vegeta attacked innocent bystanders at the tournament, killing hundreds in an instant. Goku had no choice. The two Saiyans faced each other once more, rivals who had become something like friends over the years, now enemies again because of Vegeta's obsession. Their battle was everything Vegeta had dreamed it would be. Both warriors ascended to Super Saiyan 2, the form Gohan had achieved against Cell, and they fought with everything they had. The earth shook, mountains crumbled. For a time, nothing existed except the two of them and the violence between them. But their battle served Babidi's purpose. The energy released by their clash was exactly what the wizard needed. Majin Buu began to awaken. Goku sensed the change and tried to end the fight quickly. He explained to Vegeta that Buu's release would doom them all. Vegeta, for a moment, seemed to listen. Then he knocked Goku unconscious with a blow from behind. He had his own plan for dealing with Buu, and it did not involve Kakarot's help. Vegeta arrived at Babidi's ship to find Majin Buu already free. The creature was not what he expected. Rather than a fearsome monster, Buu appeared as a fat pink being with a childlike demeanor, bouncing around and speaking in broken sentences. But Vegeta could sense the power within that ridiculous form, power that exceeded anything he had ever felt. He attacked anyway. The battle was brutal but brief. Vegeta threw everything he had at Buu, attacks that would have destroyed planets, and Buu simply regenerated from every injury. The creature was immortal in any practical sense, able to reform from even the smallest fragment of his body. Vegeta realized that conventional attacks would never work. He needed to destroy Buu completely, vaporize every cell at once, leave nothing that could regenerate. He knew of only one way to generate that much power. Vegeta embraced his son Trunks, who had followed him to the battle, and told him for the first time that he was proud of him. He asked Piccolo to take the boy away, to get him to safety. Then, alone on the battlefield with Buu, Vegeta did something he had never done before. He sacrificed himself for others. The prince channeled every ounce of his life force into a single explosive attack. His body turned to stone and crumbled as the energy released, a blast that covered miles and should have destroyed anything in its radius. When the light faded, Vegeta was gone, and the landscape was nothing but a crater. But Buu survived. Fragments of his body, scattered by the explosion, drew back together and reformed. The monster was annoyed, perhaps even hurt, but very much alive. Vegeta's sacrifice had been for nothing. Goku awoke to find the world in chaos. Vegeta was dead. Gohan had been beaten by Buu and was missing, presumed dead. Babidi controlled Buu and was using him to terrorize the planet, destroying cities on a whim and killing millions. The only hope lay in a desperate plan. Teach Goten and Trunks a technique called the fusion dance, which would combine them into a single warrior powerful enough to challenge Buu. But Buu was attacking now, and the boys were not ready. Goku needed to buy time. He faced Buu himself, and for the first time in years, he revealed a transformation that none of his friends had ever seen. Super Saiyan 3. His hair grew to his waist. His brow ridge became more pronounced, his features more primal. Power erupted from him in quantities that shook the very fabric of reality. Goku had achieved this form during his years of training in the afterlife, pushing beyond the limits of Super Saiyan 2 to reach something entirely new. He fought Buu to a standstill. For the first time, the monster faced an opponent who could match his power. Their battle ranged across continents, their clashes visible from space. But Super Saiyan 3 had a terrible cost. It burned through Goku's energy at a rate he could not sustain, especially since he was borrowing time from the afterlife to remain on Earth. He could not finish Buu. He could only delay him. Goku retreated, his time on Earth nearly exhausted. He returned to the lookout and oversaw the final stages of Goten and Trunks' fusion training. The boys performed the dance correctly and became Gotenks, a warrior with the combined power of both children and an ego that exceeded either of them. Gotenks was powerful, perhaps powerful enough to defeat Buu, but he was also arrogant and reckless. He charged into battle before he was ready and was soundly beaten. Events spiraled further out of control. Buu befriended Hercule Satan, of all people, and for a brief time seemed to be reforming. But an attack by human criminals who shot Buu's pet dog triggered something terrible. The anger within Buu separated from his innocent side, becoming a thin grey creature of pure malevolence that absorbed the fat Buu and transformed into something far worse. Super Buu was taller, leaner, and possessed of a cunning that innocent Buu had lacked. He killed most of humanity with a single attack, firing beams from the lookout that sought out every human on Earth and exterminated them. Gotenks faced Super Buu in the hyperbolic time chamber and achieved Super Saiyan 3 himself. The battle was spectacular and bizarre, Gotenks using attacks with ridiculous names like the Super Ghost Kamikaze attack, while Buu responded with his own terrible abilities. But Buu was clever. When Piccolo destroyed the entrance to the time chamber, trapping them all inside, Buu simply tore a hole through dimensions by screaming. He escaped to the lookout and absorbed Gotenks and Piccolo, adding their power and intelligence to his own. Gohan returned. He had survived Buu's earlier attack and been taken to the world of the Supreme Kais, where the old Kai had unlocked his full potential through a lengthy ritual. Gohan was now stronger than he had ever been, stronger than Super Saiyan 3, stronger than anything Buu had faced before. He dominated Super Buu in combat, beating the monster without even transforming. But Buu was cunning. He stalled for time, waiting for Gotenks' fusion to expire inside him, then managed to absorb Gohan as well. With Piccolo's strategic mind, Gohan's power, and the abilities of everyone else he had consumed, Super Buu became almost unstoppable. Goku returned from the afterlife with a gift from the old Kai, his own life, permanently restored. He also brought the Potara earrings, artifacts that could fuse two beings into one far more effectively than the fusion dance. His intended partner was Gohan, but before they could fuse, Buu absorbed Gohan. The only other warrior available was Vegeta, whose soul had been allowed to keep its body in death so that he could help save the universe. Goku and Vegeta fused into Vegeto, a being who combined their powers multiplicatively rather than additively. Vegeto was so far beyond Super Buu that the monster had no chance whatsoever. Even after being transformed into a piece of candy, Vegeto continued fighting, proving that his power transcended physical form. But rather than destroy Buu, Vegeto allowed himself to be absorbed, intending to rescue the others who had been taken. Inside Buu's body, the Potara fusion came undone. Goku and Vegeta separated, becoming individuals again, and searched through the twisted landscape of Buu's innards for their absorbed friends and family. They found Gohan, Goten, Trunks, and Piccolo, all trapped in organic pods, and freed them. They also found the Fat Buu, the original innocent version that had been absorbed by the Evil One. Their escape triggered a transformation in Super Buu, stripping away the absorbed victims and reverting him to an earlier, more primal state. Kid Buu was smaller than any of his other forms, childlike in appearance, but possessing none of the restraint or cunning that had characterized Super Buu. He was chaos incarnate, destruction without purpose, evil without reason. His first act upon being released was to destroy the Earth itself. Goku and Vegeta escaped with Hercule and the Fat Buu using instant transmission, materializing on the world of the Supreme Kais moments before the planet exploded. Everyone else died. Gohan, Goten, Trunks, Piccolo, Bulma, Chi-Chi, everyone they had fought to save was gone. Kid Buu followed them. His ability to sense energy transcended normal space, and he tracked them across the universe to the sacred world of the Kais. The final battle began. Goku faced Kid Buu in his Super Saiyan 3 form while Vegeta watched and recovered. The fight was close, closer than it should have been, because Kid Buu had no limitations. He did not tire, did not weaken, did not hold back. He was pure combat instinct wrapped in infinite regeneration. Goku pushed himself to the absolute limit and still could not destroy the monster. Vegeta took his turn, knowing he could not win, fighting only to buy time. Kid Buu beat him savagely, reducing the proud prince to a broken heap, but Vegeta refused to surrender. He had spent his life in pursuit of strength and glory, but in this final battle, he understood something more important. He understood sacrifice. The plan they devised was desperate but simple. They would use the Dragon Balls of the Namekians, the only Dragon Balls that remained, to restore the Earth and resurrect everyone who had died. Then Goku would gather energy for a spirit bomb large enough to destroy Kid Buu completely. It would require the energy of the entire Earth, every human life contributing their power to a single attack. The wishes were made. Earth returned. The dead were restored. Goku reached out to the people of the world, asking for their energy, and was met with silence. They did not know him. They did not trust him. Only their friends gave willingly, their power insufficient for what was needed. Hercules Satan was a fraud, but he was not entirely a coward. The martial artist who had convinced the world that energy attacks were tricks and superpowered warriors, what charlatans, possessed genuine bravery beneath his bluster. When Cell announced his tournament, Hercule was the only public figure willing to face him, even if his confidence stemmed from delusion rather than accurate assessment. His moment of genuine heroism came during the Buu crisis. When innocent Buu terrorized the world, Hercule approached the monster not with attacks but with friendship. He brought Buu food and played games with him, treating the creature as a potential friend rather than a threat to be destroyed. This approach worked in ways that combat had not. Buu's childlike nature responded to kindness, and for a brief time, it seemed that the monster might be redeemed through compassion rather than defeated through violence. Now, in the final moments of the battle against Kid Buu, Hercule saved the world. The fraud, the charlatan, the man who had taken credit for Gohan's victory over Cell, stepped up when it mattered most. He asked the people of Earth to raise their hands and share their energy with him, and because they believed in Hercule, because he was their hero, they complied. The spirit bombs swelled with the power of billions of souls. The man who had built his fame on lies became a genuine hero through sincerity. His friendship with Buu continued after the battle, the innocent version of the monster becoming a permanent houseguest. Hercule, for all his faults, had proven that courage came in many forms, and that even those who seemed least qualified for heroism could rise to meet the moment when it mattered most. Kid Buu tried to stop the spirit bomb. He beat Vegeta nearly to death and turned his attention to Goku, attempting to kill him before the spirit bomb could be completed. But the Fat Buu, the innocent version who had befriended Hercule, intervened. He pulled Kid Buu away, buying the precious seconds needed. Goku threw the spirit bomb. It was not enough. Kid Buu caught it, pushing back, his power somehow matching the combined energy of an entire world. Goku's strength was exhausted from maintaining Super Saiyan 3 for so long. He could not push the bomb forward. The final wish was made. Porunga restored Goku's energy completely, filling him with fresh power at the moment he needed it most. Goku pushed, and the spirit bomb overwhelmed Kid Buu, destroying every particle of the monster's being, ending the threat forever. Majin Buu was gone. The universe was safe. The dead were restored, and life continued. In the aftermath, Goku made a wish of his own. He asked that Kid Buu be reincarnated as a good person, have someone he could fight again someday, someone who would challenge him without threatening the innocent. The wish was granted. Somewhere on Earth, a boy named Oob was born in a remote village, carrying within him the power of Buu, but none of his evil. 10 years later, Goku met Oob at another world martial arts tournament. The boy was strong, stronger than he knew, and desperately poor. Goku offered to train him to unlock his potential, to help him become the warrior he was meant to be. As they flew away together to begin Oob's training, Goku's family and friends watched with knowing smiles. Their hero would never stop seeking new challenges, new adventures, new heights to reach. And so the story of Dragon Ball Z reaches its conclusion. From the arrival of Raditz to the defeat of Majin Buu, it spans generations and galaxies. It tells of power beyond imagination and sacrifice beyond measure. It celebrates friendship that endures across death itself and rivalry that transforms into respect. It shows us that limits exist only to be surpassed, that defeat is merely preparation for future victory, and that even the proudest hearts can learn to love. The story we have journeyed through together spans more than a decade of battles and growth, of loss and triumph. But within its broad strokes lie countless quieter moments, the spaces between conflicts, where characters reveal themselves most fully. Let us return to some of these moments now, exploring the depths of the hearts that drove these warriors forward. Consider Piccolo's transformation across the years. When he first appeared in Dragon Ball Z, he was still the Demon King's heir, a being born from hatred and designed for conquest. His alliance with Goku against Raditz was purely pragmatic, a temporary truce between enemies who recognized a greater threat. Yet something changed during the year he spent training young Gohan in the wilderness. Piccolo had never known kindness. His father, King Piccolo, had created him as an instrument of vengeance, a vessel for hatred against Goku. His earliest memories were of rage and purpose, the burning need to destroy the man who had killed his progenitor. But Gohan was different from anyone Piccolo had encountered. The boy was terrified of him at first, crying for his father, running from the harsh training Piccolo imposed. Yet Gohan never hated him. Even when Piccolo left him alone in the wilderness for 6 months, even when training sessions left him bruised and exhausted, Gohan looked at Piccolo with something that might have been admiration. The moment that changed everything came during a storm. Gohan had taken shelter in a cave, shivering and alone, when a pack of predators cornered him. Piccolo watched from a distance, ready to intervene if the boy's life was truly threatened, but determined to let him learn to fend for himself. What he saw surprised him. Gohan did not cower. He stood his ground, gathered his courage, and released a burst of energy that scattered the beasts. Then he collapsed from exhaustion, and Piccolo found himself carrying the boy back to their camp, wrapping him in his own cape for warmth. That cape became a symbol. Piccolo, who had never given anything to anyone, gave his garment to a child who was supposed to be merely a tool for defeating the Saiyans. When Gohan woke wearing it, he smiled at Piccolo with such genuine warmth that the demon's heart cracked open despite itself. By the time the Saiyans arrived, Piccolo had long since stopped thinking of Gohan as a weapon. The boy had become something far more precious. His sacrifice against Nappa was not a strategic decision. When he saw the blast heading for Gohan, Piccolo did not calculate odds or consider alternatives. He simply moved, placing his body between the child and destruction, accepting death to preserve the one pure thing he had ever loved. His final words to Gohan were not about strategy or revenge. They were about friendship, about the unexpected gift the boy had given him, about the changed heart he would carry into the afterlife. Vegeta's journey was longer and more tortured. The prince had been raised in Frieza's court, a hostage disguised as a servant, his pride constantly ground beneath the tyrant's heel. He learned early that power was the only currency that mattered, that sentiment was weakness, that trust led only to betrayal. By the time he arrived on Earth, Vegeta had killed more beings than he could count, had destroyed worlds without remorse, had abandoned every Saiyan virtue except the hunger for strength. His defeat at Goku's hands shattered something fundamental in his self-image. Vegeta had always believed himself destined for greatness, the prince who would restore Saiyan glory and rule the universe. To be beaten by a low-class warrior, an infant sent to a backwater planet because he was deemed too weak for real missions, was an insult beyond endurance. His obsession with surpassing Goku became the defining force of his existence, driving him through years of grueling training and bitter failure. But Earth changed him in ways he refused to acknowledge. His relationship with Bulma began as something barely more than cohabitation, two difficult personalities sharing space without commitment. Yet Bulma saw past his cruelty to the wounded pride beneath, and she refused to be intimidated by his bluster. When Trunks was born, Vegeta initially showed little interest, viewing the child as a distraction from his training. But he watched the boy nonetheless, observed his first steps and first words, and felt something stir that he had believed long dead. The moment of truth came during the Cell Games, when future Trunks fell to Cell's death beam. Vegeta had spent years dismissing this version of his son, uncomfortable with the adult who represented a future he had not lived. Yet when Trunks died, Vegeta's rage was absolute. He attacked Cell with no thought for strategy or survival, his royal composure shattered by grief he had not known he could feel. The attack was futile, but it revealed the transformation that had been occurring beneath his arrogant surface. Vegeta had learned to love, even if he could never bring himself to say the word. His sacrifice against Majin Buu completed this evolution. The prince who had lived for pride and power chose to die for others, to give everything so that his family might survive. His embrace of Trunks before the final attack was perhaps the most honest moment of his life. The walls finally lowered, the truth finally spoken. Vegeta was not redeemed by this act. His sins were too numerous, his cruelties too severe, for any single gesture to erase them. But he proved that even the darkest heart can find its way toward light. Gohan's story is perhaps the most complex of all. He was born with power that exceeded both his parents, a hybrid of Saiyan warrior and human heart whose potential seemed limitless. Yet Gohan never wanted to fight. He dreamed of being a scholar, of exploring knowledge rather than battlefields, of building rather than destroying. Every time circumstances forced him into combat, he struggled against his own nature, the gentle boy warring with the warrior within. His hidden power emerged only under extreme emotional duress. Against Raditz, it was the sight of his father being tortured. Against Frieza, it was the memory of fallen friends. Against Cell, it was the destruction of Android 16 and the threat to everyone he loved. Gohan needed rage to access his full strength, but rage was foreign to his peaceful soul. Each transformation left him drained and disturbed, a reminder that his greatest power came from a place he did not want to visit. The years after Cell's defeat allowed him to pursue his true calling. He studied diligently, excelled academically, and tried to leave the warrior's life behind. But the power remained within him, and events would not allow him to ignore it forever. When Majin Buu threatened everything, Gohan returned to battle once more, his potential finally unlocked not through rage but through the old Kai's ritual. For the first time, he could access his full strength while remaining himself, the scholar warrior who fought not from anger but from love. Goku himself underwent profound changes across these years, though his cheerful demeanor often masked them. The boy who had grown up alone in the wilderness, who had never known his parents or his people, discovered that he was an alien whose race had been exterminated. He learned that his father had been a warrior, that his people had been conquerors, that the mission he was sent to complete involved genocide. These revelations could have broken him, could have shattered his identity, and left him adrift between worlds. Instead, Goku chose his own path. He was Saiyan by blood, but Earthling by heart, a warrior who loved battle, but fought for peace, a father who sacrificed himself repeatedly so that his children could live. His decision to remain dead after the Cell Games was not abandonment, but protection, a recognition that his presence attracted threats and that his family might be safer without him. It was wrong, as Chi-Chi and Gohan could have told him, but it came from love. His rivalry with Vegeta evolved into something neither of them expected. They pushed each other to heights neither could have reached alone, each one's strength inspiring the other to grow stronger. When they fused into Vegito, the combined being possessed not just their power, but their bond, the complicated respect between prince and common warrior that had developed across years of conflict and cooperation. When they fought side by side against Kid Buu, passing the burden between them as each reached exhaustion, they functioned as partners in a way that would have been unthinkable when they first met. The supporting characters contributed their own essential threads to the tapestry. Krillin, the human who could never match Saiyan power, continued fighting anyway. He knew that his strength was insignificant compared to the threats they faced. Yet he stood beside his friends in every battle, offering what he could, refusing to let fear keep him from the field. His love for Android 18, improbable as it seemed, humanized her in ways her programming had never allowed. Their daughter Maron became a symbol of hope, the union of human heart and artificial origin producing something entirely new. Tien and Chiotsu retreated from the main conflicts but never stopped training. They knew their limits, accepted that the Saiyans had left them behind, yet maintained their discipline and their readiness. When Tien held Cell at bay with his tri-beam attack, buying time for the androids to escape, even as the technique drained his life force, he proved that power levels were not the only measure of a warrior's worth. Courage and will could accomplish what raw strength could not. Bulma's contributions were often overlooked, but never insignificant. Her scientific genius produced the Dragon radar, the gravity training equipment, the time machine that allowed future Trunks to warn them of disaster. She built spaceships and battle armor, analyzed alien technology and replicated it, solved problems that muscles could not. Without Bulma, the warriors would have been lost a dozen times over, their courage useless without the tools she provided. Chi-Chi endured losses that would have broken lesser spirits. Her husband died twice, each time choosing sacrifice over survival, leaving her to raise their children alone. She channeled her grief into determination, insisting that Gohan pursue education, even as the world burned around them, maintaining the home that gave Goku a place to return to. Her strictness was a form of love, her demands a shield against the dangers that constantly threatened to take her family from her. The themes that run through Dragon Ball Z speak to something universal in the human experience. The transformation of enemies into allies reflects our capacity for growth and forgiveness. Vegeta and Piccolo, who began as villains, became heroes through their connections with others. Android 18, created to kill Goku, became a wife and mother. Even Majin Buu, the embodiment of destruction, found friendship with Hercule and chose good over evil. The story insists that no one is beyond redemption, that the darkness within us need not define our fate. The emphasis on training and preparation celebrates the value of effort. Natural talent matters in this world, as Gohan's hidden power demonstrates, but talent alone is not enough. Goku achieved Super Saiyan through decades of discipline, pushing himself beyond comfort, embracing challenges that would have destroyed lesser wills. Vegeta's obsessive training, however unhealthy its origins, produced results that matched his rivals. The message is clear: growth requires work, and the harder the work, the greater the growth. The repeated resurrections via Dragon Balls address mortality in a unique way. Death in this universe is not permanent for the heroic, which might seem to reduce its stakes. Yet the characters treat death seriously regardless, mourning their losses and celebrating their returns, recognizing that even temporary death involves suffering and separation. The Dragon Balls represent hope itself, the possibility that loss can be reversed, that broken things can be restored, that tomorrow can bring healing for today's wounds. Family stands at the heart of everything. Goku fights to protect his wife and sons. Vegeta's transformation occurs because of his relationship with Bulma and Trunks. Gohan's power emerges to defend those he loves. Piccolo becomes a hero through his bond with Gohan. Even the villains often have family connections. Frieza working alongside his father, Cell seeking to reunite with his android siblings in a twisted way. The battles may be cosmic in scale, but their motivations are intimately personal. The rivalries drive characters to excellence. Goku and Vegeta make each other stronger through competition. Gohan and his father push each other in training. Even Piccolo's initial hatred of Goku eventually transforms into respectful rivalry. The story suggests that having someone to compare ourselves against, someone whose success motivates our own efforts, can be a powerful force for growth. And through it all runs the simple joy of adventure. Goku's smile before a difficult battle is not bravado, but genuine excitement. He loves fighting, loves testing himself, loves discovering new techniques and meeting new opponents. This enthusiasm is infectious, spreading to allies who might otherwise despair at the challenges they face. The story never forgets that struggle can be exhilarating, that overcoming obstacles brings satisfaction beyond mere survival. The world of Dragon Ball Z is one of extremes. Powers that shake planets, transformations that rewrite the rules of possibility, villains whose evil knows no bounds, and heroes whose courage rises to meet them. Yet within these extremes live recognizable emotions. The love of parent for child, the loyalty of friend for friend, the pride that drives us to improve, the fear we must overcome to act. The alien warriors and cosmic battles serve as a canvas for stories that are, at their core, deeply human. As you drift towards sleep, carry with you the lessons these warriors learned. Carry Goku's boundless optimism, his belief that every problem has a solution if you work hard enough to find it. Carry Vegeta's journey from darkness to light, proof that our past need not determine our future. Carry Gohan's gentle strength, the reminder that power and kindness can coexist. Carry Piccolo's transformation, evidence that connection can heal even the most isolated heart. Carry the memory of battles won against impossible odds. Carry the image of warriors standing together against threats that should have overwhelmed them. Carry the knowledge that in this universe, and perhaps in our own, determination and heart can overcome any obstacle. The stars wheel overhead in their eternal dance. Somewhere among them, on planets we will never see, beings of unimaginable power train and fight and grow. But here on Earth, in this quiet moment, we rest. We have earned this peace, as the warriors earned theirs, through the struggles we have faced and the challenges we have met. Tomorrow will bring new adventures, new obstacles, new opportunities for growth. But tonight, we sleep. We let our bodies recover and our minds dream. Perhaps in those dreams, we will fly alongside Goku through endless skies. Perhaps we will stand with Vegeta as he finally accepts the love he has been offered. Perhaps we will watch young Gohan discover the strength he never wanted, but learned to embrace. The saga of Dragon Ball Z has reached its end, but the story continues in the hearts of all who have witnessed it. The warriors live on in memory, their deeds inspiring new generations, their struggles giving hope to those who face their own battles. We may not be able to transform into Super Saiyans or fire energy beams from our palms, but we carry within us the same capacity for growth, for courage, for love that defined these heroes. Rest now. Let the images fade into peaceful darkness. Let your breathing slow and your muscles relax. The universe is vast and full of wonders, but this moment is yours alone, a sanctuary of calm in the endless adventure of existence. When you wake, you will be stronger than you were, refreshed and ready for whatever awaits. And somewhere, in the space between dreams, Goku smiles his familiar smile and raises his hand in farewell. Until next time, he seems to say. Until the next adventure, sleep well.